All right, you nervous? I'm out here with Miss Cassandra. Officers have just arrived at the getaway motel of 28-year-old Cassandra Douglas. For the last 24 hours, she and her brother have been on the run after 3 of their family members were found dead and burned in the desert. Damn, I'm 99% this is either an animal or a person. Yeah, that looks like a human, dude. And as these local officers prepare to confront the primary suspect of the most important case they've ever worked on, nothing could prepare them for the horrifying discoveries they're about to make. Call the police. Anyone's sign? Make yourself known. This is a horrible nightmare. What are we looking at here? This is one of the worst things that I've ever wanted to be involved with. It's a routine Friday afternoon at the Otto County Sheriff's Office when dispatch begins receiving a series of unusual 911 calls from a young man. Communications. Hi, good morning. I'm hoping to file a police report, and I might need some assistance doing so. Okay, and what's your first and last name? Kame. Okay, and tell me what's going on. I've been living abroad for the past 6 years, and I found out that my father died last year shortly after Christmas. I have recently returned home. I'm living in New Mexico again, and I was hoping to return to the family property. Since his passing, tons and tons of family possessions and property have all gone missing and have either been sold off, lost, or stolen. And I'm looking to reassume possession of the property, but there are people squatting in the house. Do you know who these people are? I do. I can give you first and last names, but not anything much else. Kane goes on to clarify that the squatters inside his deceased father's property are actually family members, mainly his uncle Victor, who allegedly took over the property and is living there with Kane's grandmother and his stepbrother. He also seemingly claims that his uncle Victor has sold off valuable assets, including firearms and expensive jewelry belonging to his father. The dispatcher logs the information Kane provides and passes it along for legal follow-up. However, not long after this first contact, on a Monday morning in January 2025, Kane calls again, but this time it's for something strangely different. Dispatch, hi there. I was calling because I'm wondering what would it take for me to request a wellness check on somebody. A welfare check on my grandmother, Mary Mauser. Okay, the sergeant is aware they are on an emergency call right now. As soon as they are done, they will head up there to do a welfare check. Okay, excellent. Thank you, man. You're welcome. A couple of hours after Kane requests a welfare check for his grandmother, Mary, he calls police again for the 3rd time to share new updates. To Rosa Communications, you're on a recorded line. How can I help you? Hi, my name is Kane. I called earlier regarding so. Sergeant Norquist is going to give you a call back. They have not responded there yet because they've been tied up with a warrant service where the person doesn't want to come out. No, that's okay. We stopped by on our way down, and everything is locked up tight. That's why I was returning your call, because you said if that, and that I should call you back. All right, and like if they're tied up with an emergency. Yes, sir. We got to worry about the officers and make sure that they're still. Thank you so much for understanding. I will let the sergeant know then. Following this latest call from Kane, the welfare check is officially canceled and officers are no longer dispatched to the property. At this point, the dispatcher has no reason to suspect anything other than some kind of family dispute, and the situation appears to have resolved itself for now. In reality, something far more calculated is already in motion, and the family involved will soon be implicated in a scheme that will lead detectives down one of the most twisted murder plots they've ever handled. That same Monday, a few hours after Kane's 911 calls, a man arrives at the police station in the afternoon with an oddly timed request. Hello, sir. Hey, how you doing? Doing well. Sergeant Norquist. Mike Blett. Mike, it's nice to meet you. How can I help you today? Okay. Well, my brother-in-law helps us take care of my brother-in-law. Okay. And he normally is very conscientious about showing up when he says he's going to show up and everything. Yeah. And we have this, we schedule him. We've been taking care of my mother for 7 years. Okay, she's 92 years old. So anyway, we normally communicate quite a bit during the week and stuff, So you want to check on him, or you're your mother-in-law? No, on him. He lives on Knoll. Yes. Yeah. See, and somebody had called earlier. We were out busy, but someone had called in for a welfare check, but they can let us prior to us getting up there because they said whoever it was I can go look and find the name that said the house was locked up tight, and nobody was up there. The person Sergeant Nordquist is referring to as Mike's nephew-in-law, Kane Mayseyes. And it appears that both Mike and Kane are concerned about family members. Though the family dynamics are becoming tricky to keep up with for the sergeant, Mike is about to make one thing about Kane crystal clear. Do you know Kane Mays? Yeah, I do know him. Part of the problem. Okay, so what's the problem there? Okay, well, I think he's trying to keep us from going over a little. The house is owned by his father. Yeah, well, the owner of the house, okay, is Frank B., and he's deceased. Frank is deceased. Yeah, Victor, his brother Stade, was living with him along with Kane's grandmother and his stepbrother Killian. As Mike continues explaining the complex family dynamics to the sergeant, one thing becomes clear. 3 people are missing, all close relatives of Mike and Kane. But before Mike leaves, there's something serious he needs to warn the sergeant about. I'm going to get one of my deputies, and we're going to go out to the address and see if we can find OK. Let me give you some heads up. Okay, his dad had a lot of guns, Frank, before he died. And he taught Kane how to shoot, and Kane came up the other day. I didn't finish my story when I pulled up there. Okay, and I hollered out the window for a bit because the gates closed. Right, yeah, okay. And then a person comes to where I can see about this much of him, right up there. And I go, hey, Ben. And he goes, no, it's me, Kane. Well, he walks down, he's packed. He's armed. And I says, well, have you seen Victor? He says, no, nobody's up here. Okay, so I think if I were you, I would go up there more than 2 guys because I think he knows how to shoot. And I don't know what if there were any rifles and stuff like that where he could be, with anybody. So I had his phone number, but then after I had his phone number, he had my phone number, he started texting, your grandmother's missing, your uncle's missing, your stepbrother's missing, right? And this is what he's talking to me about. He's a pathological liar, man. I think he's up to no good. I really do. You guys got to be really careful. He said he just got off the line with Sergeant Nordquist or North. He never called us because we never called and contacted him. It's becoming clear to the sergeant that something is off. Sensing this won't be a routine welfare check, Sergeant Nordquist takes note of Mike's concerns and prepares to head out to the house. What makes this case so unique isn't just the crime scene officers will soon walk into, but the way police have to piece it together, using advanced forensics and strategic elicitation to cut through the lies. And as the investigation unfolds, this will prove to be one of the most resource-intensive cases for everyone involved, with constant pressure, long hours, and difficult decisions at every step. Many of us deal with our own pressures and emotional struggles. And sometimes all it takes is talking to someone to begin working through them. There was a time when I got into a pretty bad argument with a close friend a while back, and it just stuck with me. I kept replaying it. Well, I said what they said, whether I was in the wrong, and I didn't really have anyone I could talk to about it without it turning into a whole thing or someone picking sides. I just kept telling myself I'd get over it eventually, but eventually never really came. And at some point, I realized that having someone to talk to who's completely outside of your life, who can just give you a fresh perspective with no bias, makes a huge difference. That's why I've partnered with today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Starting therapy can feel like a huge step, but BetterHelp actually makes it really simple. You take a short quiz, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, we can switch anytime at no extra cost, which I think is huge because finding the right therapist makes all the difference. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Over 6 million people have used BetterHelp, earning it a 4.8 out of 5 rating on the App Store. Click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/DreamsInsanity to get 10% off your first month. With that said, let's get back to the investigation. Approximately an hour after talking to Mike, Sergeant Nordquist and a group of officers head to the property to conduct a welfare check. Based on Mike's previous concerns, officers approached the house cautiously in case they encounter Kane. I got open door. Sheriff's office. Sheriff's office here. Make yourself known. Sheriff's office. Stay here with search. Stay here with searching on the left. Got you. Yeah, I was going to say everything's stacked and piled up. The door knob was locked on this. Literally, when I went like that, I was like, door just kept going. I was like, Puzzled by the home's disarray, officers leave after confirming no one is inside. With boxes stacked throughout the home and both of Victor's cars, the blue and green Subarus missing, officers assume the family may have moved out. In reality, the clutter wasn't accidental. It was intentionally staged to conceal evidence of foul play, and it has done exactly that. None of that is apparent now. So Sergeant Nordquist calls Mike on the phone to update him on the situation. This is where the two men will slowly start to pick up on just how sketchy this whole ordeal is. Hello, sir. So, we went up to that address. So, we cleared the residence. There was nobody inside. There's no vehicles. I'm matching the descriptions of the Subarus you gave on the property. So, but there was no signs of struggle, no signs of any foul play that we could determine. There were some boxes that appear to be like being packed up, but other than that's all we got. The thing is, all three people are missing that were staying there at the house. But definitely the king is the kicker, that he's the one that did all that. He got your name, and then he was able to send me the text saying that he spoke to you. And then he called back later and canceled the deal. Right? Yes, sir. And on the face of it, it looks super sketchy, but there was no indication that we could see of any foul play or a struggle or anything. A struggle. Yes, sir. As the sergeant tries to reassure Mike, even he begins to wonder if the scene is hiding more than it appears. A few hours later that afternoon, Nordquist returns to the station and calls Kane, trying to understand why he canceled the welfare check and why, most strangely, no one was inside the house. Hi, this is Sergeant Oakes at the sheriff's office. Is this Mr. Mays? Yes, sir. How are you? The reason why I'm calling is in regards to you. Earlier this morning, you had contacted our office to do a welfare check on a family member. That's correct. Who is that family member to you? It's my grandmother. Your grandmother who lives up there with your grandmother out of the 121 knoll. That would be an uncle of mine and my brother. Do you have any information on them attempting to move anywhere? I was told that my brother and my grandmother are planning to move soon. So, the reason why I'm calling is we went up to that address because Mr. BLDDY stopped by. Yeah, he was the one who recommended that we give you guys a call. He seemed pretty upset. He was looking for Vic. So, when we went inside the residence to make sure that nobody was hurt or injured, nothing was broken into. We didn't see any signs of struggle or any signs of foul play. Did you text to Mr. Bloody at all today? I mentioned that we stopped by and I had given you guys a call and everything was okay. Well, who told you that everything was okay? Dispatch coordinator. I don't remember her name, because the information that I got was that you called back and said you went up there and everything was okay. Correct. Now, what was in that text message to Mr. Bloody? That's what I'm confused with. I let him know that I had tried to call you, and the dispatch officer said that you were tied up with what sounded like a pretty hostile situation. The way the text message reads was that you had made contact with me, and I know for sure, and you know for sure that didn't happen. So that way it looked kind of weird. Naturally, Nordquist doesn't know what to make of Kane's message to Mike, in which he seems to falsely claim to have spoken with the sergeant. Suspecting Kane is hiding something, Nordquist ends the call and immediately requests a search warrant for a second search of the house. While they wait for the warrant to be processed, all police can do now is hope the missing trio turns up safe. A hope that is far removed from the gruesome reality awaiting them just a few hours from now. Early on a Wednesday morning that week around 10 a.m., something strange happens about 200 yards from the house where the trio vanished. A passerby takes notice and calls 911. 911, where's your emergency? Yeah, I'm phoning but there's a fire off into the bounds area. I called before about 2 minutes ago. So, we drove down the road to see if we could get a better view of the fire to help you guys out. Okay, well, we have already toned out the fire department, so we will get units headed that way to see if they can locate. Yeah, they set the top of Bent Road for a second. They'll be able to see it. We'll let them know. Shortly after the call, 2 deputies are dispatched to investigate the fire. Once they arrive at the reported location, one of them spots something disturbing in the distance. A burned, flipped-over vehicle matching one of Victor's missing cars. I got a tire track towards the direction I walked. Just follow the path. I got the vehicle. It's smoking. I got couple sets of shoe impressions, tire tracks, all that. 99% sure there's a cage and a spinal cordum in here, in this vehicle. Given the circumstances, Brad told me that things are all fine. Look right in here. Yeah, that looks like a human. Dude, these things burn hot. Yeah, hopefully Slater is and his team's on the way. As officers look inside the car, they can see what appears to be the burned remains of 3 people too badly damaged by the fire to identify them at the scene. Suspecting a homicide, they call in Sergeant Nordquist, and it wouldn't take long for him to connect the dots. This might be a Subaru. That's a vehicle that they haven't accounted for yet. Look right here. Oh, for sure. You see it? Yeah. Do you see it anywhere? I've been looking in here. Just given the circumstances, this actually might be one of the missing people. What's that right there? I was looking at that too. Oh yeah, that's a cuff right there. Yep, by one of our missing people. The missing vehicle from up here, huh? From up here? Yeah, I guess Brad. He suspects that some guy named Kane killed most of his relatives that live here. And this vehicle, I think, is a Subaru. Looks like this is really fresh, dude. There's more over here, cause it would have caught this whole place on fire. What officers are beginning to suspect is horrifying. Not only do the burned remains likely belong to the 3 missing individuals, but given how recent the fire is, the person responsible may have burned the bodies just hours ago and could still be within reach of police. So once the scene is secured and the bodies are sent for autopsy, a nationwide BOLO is issued for Kane Mays. Although police now believe they know what happened and who's responsible, they have no idea just how far beyond Kane this plot goes. There are more players involved, more targets, and a multi-state homicide case that will exhaust every resource police have. You gotta find him. We're afraid of him. There was one time I should have died. Probably should be dead twice. And he was so aggressive. I thought we were going to die. I thought he was going to shoot us on the property. More than 24 hours after the fire, officers remain unable to find or contact Kane, raising concerns that he may be on the run. But this is when the initial autopsy results come in, confirming what officers had feared all along. The burned victims are Kane's close relatives. His uncle, Victor Pariah, his grandmother, Mary Mauser, and his stepbrother, Killian Mays. Beyond confirming their identities, the autopsy offers little actionable insight. At least one victim had a confirmed gunshot wound to the head, but the other remains were too severely burned to identify all injuries. Investigators surmised that the victims were likely incapacitated well before the fire was set. Following these horrific findings, they begin digging deeper into their main suspect's background. It turns out Kane may have been living in Canada and working as an engineer until just a few months earlier, and had several documented domestic incidents involving his wife. Hoping she may know where her husband is, officers reach out to Kane's wife on the phone, where they'll find out she might know far more than that. Hello, my name's Justin Mitchell. I'm a detective with the Otter Sheriff's Office in New Mexico. Are you Samantha? Yes, I am. I have a feeling I might receive a call from you at some point since I did give you guys a call. Yes, ma'am. You want to tell me from the beginning, like how you met him and your relationship with him? I've actually been speaking to the Ontario Provincial Police because I thought he was messing with me like I had mentioned. So, I'm also filing a case against him right now, but because it's Canadian and now he's in America, who knows if that's going to, but he was physically violent with me. I have evidence of it. Yeah, we just met playing video games online, and we started an online relationship. And for a few years, it was just basically we would talk. And then one day, he calls me up, and he says that his father disowned him and he needs to move here right away. He always been verbally towards me, and just in general, he had a weird attitude towards things. Eventually we moved out. Brace yourself for this one, because I feel bad that I didn't come forward, told people that he had beaten me, and now this has happened. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, we both had an alcohol problem, but I never drank before I met him. And he definitely pushed that on me. And he pressured me to drink a lot. Like there was always a pressure. He wanted me to do it. He just did start hitting me. He did start getting violent with me. Probably should be dead twice. Samantha's statements are nothing short of horrifying. But even worse, she would share a terrifying recording with detectives captured during one of the numerous domestic incidents involving Kane. You just let me go. And I do every time. When you ask, I'll let you go. I don't want you to. Is this your neck? Is this your neck? The rest of this recording is too disturbing to play on YouTube, but it clearly documents an alleged serious domestic violence incident involving Cain. Investigators now know they must act quickly as more people, including Samantha, could be in immediate danger. So later that day, after securing approval for the earlier search warrant, police return to the victim's house. But this time, they bring specialized chemicals called Blue Star, used to hunt for hidden blood. Officers had missed during the initial search. Inside the kitchen, detectives spot one of 3 spent .22 caliber shell casings along with a live .22 round. Using Blue Star, they also detect high-velocity blood spatter throughout the home. As the search continues, investigators notice clear attempts to clean up the scene. And given the precision and speed with which the bodies were disposed of, they begin to suspect a grim possibility. This was not the work of a single perpetrator. But then officers find something very strange. Condoms and pregnancy tests stored with cleaning supplies near the well house and septic area. Following these disturbing findings, police would continue searching the property and contacting Cain's relatives, worried he may already be far away, possibly even on his way back to Canada. A few days later, as detectives continue searching for leads on Cain, they decide to pay Mike and his wife, Lourdes Brett, a visit. Just like Cain, Lourdes also has personal ties to all 3 victims. Victor Perry was her brother, Killian Mays was her grandnephew, and Mary Mauser was her brother's partner. But before investigators can hope to learn anything about Cain's whereabouts or possible accomplices, they must first deliver the tragic news to the couple. Yeah, this guy got a nice name, too. Hi, how are you? Detective Bobby. Hi, this is Ashley. Do you mind if I sit down? Well, I would like to give you guys a little bit of information. As I told you yesterday, I do want to let you know that there was a vehicle fire that was in close proximity to the house. There were 3 subjects that were not able to be identified that were inside of that vehicle. I cannot tell you who those subjects are on the property in the Subaru, or that I can't tell you what vehicle it was for sure right now. Again, so you already know there I can't. But, you know, they're straight people. Yes, I'm really sorry that I even have to share this information with you. This is a horrible nightmare. I mean, it's horrendous. I agree with you 100%. This is, oh no, one of the worst things that I've ever had to be involved with. Upon hearing the news, Lourdes is beyond devastated. What makes the situation even scarier is that she fears whoever is responsible may not be done yet. He's a psychopath. He's a psychopath. Cain, I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to drop him in the tube, but he's crazy. You gotta find him. We're afraid of him. He hasn't even asked how my mother is. And that's his blood grandmother. We're working. Oh my God. How can this be? Michael, how can it be? We hope for better, but no, it's not even imagination. We are working on so many different leads right now. Just catch him so everybody will be safe because he's crazy. In my worst imagination, I thought I didn't know how to tell you guys this, but I was going to say, can you look for the infrared and see if there's any graves on the property? That's what I was going to tell y'all. You know how being as something have been burned. And this has got to be the worst crime of the year in New Mexico. And I haven't heard anything this horrendous on the news lately yet. Indeed, this kind of killing doesn't happen every day, but investigators are about to hear another person of interest from the couple, someone who may know more about where Cain is. So, in our job, you will hear law enforcement say a lot. You know, it's what you know and what you can prove. And right now, we're working on collecting the information so we can prove what we believe we know. Yeah, I think the thing is, we don't know what he did all those years. Wherever he was, what did he do? Who did he know? What was his working? We have no idea. I would even be worried about his sister Beck and Rose's so-called stepsister. You know, when that one text he sent me about working with you over in Roswell, or whatever he said he was saying something about helping out his sister with her crazy ex. Yeah, something like that you had. Yes, I think it was a relationship. But I kind of remember that at the beginning that she wasn't with that guy anymore because of that. Like I was supposed to feel sorry for her or something when they first were like chit-chatting and everything. Oh, in the conversation. Okay, she's talking about I think that they said something about that. Mike would go on to identify the woman in question as 28-year-old Cassandra Douglas, Cain's half-sister. And based on his concerns and the evidence from the home search suggesting at least 2 people were likely involved in the cover-up, detectives begin to wonder if Cassandra is the next key piece to the puzzle. So with this new lead, the interview concludes and investigators shift their focus to Cassandra and her potential connections to the homicide. Coincidentally, as investigators prepare to call Cassandra the next day, she reaches out to them instead with a very peculiar 911 call. "Hi, is there any way that you would mind putting in a welfare check on my brother Kane Maz? What's the address? He told me that he was in a 680 Cox Canyon, Cloudcraft, New Mexico. 680 Cox Canyon. Yes, ma'am. He was supposed to meet up with our uncle and told me that if he didn't come back last night, and definitely if he didn't come back in the morning, that I needed to call you guys. He's been part of a missing persons thing, and Mike has been acting very aggressive and hostile towards us. Not only is Cassandra claiming her brother Kane is also missing, but she's suggesting that her uncle Mike might have something to do with it. Once investigators catch wind of this 911 call, they immediately sense something is off. The timing is highly suspicious, almost as if it's part of a plan to deflect suspicion away from Kane. So later that day, officers are sent to her address with one goal in mind: assess the situation and determine whether her claims hold any weight or if it's just an attempt to mislead the investigation. Hello. Hi. Are you Candace? No. Candace is across the street. Okay. What are you, Cassandra? I am. Okay. So, my name's Ryan Poston. Hi. I'm a detective with the Ruidoso Police Department. Hello. Do you have a second to talk to me? What's up? So did you make a 911 call for a welfare check? I did for Kane Mays. For Kane? Yeah. That was you that made that call. Okay. Have you heard from Kane? I have not. No. You still haven't heard from him? I have not. How do you know Kane? He's my brother. He's your brother. My half-brother. And when was the last time you heard from him? He was supposed to go up to meet with Mike. I think on the 21st. He told me that if he didn't show up by the morning of the 22nd, that I needed to file a missing persons report because I already have 3 family members missing. Killian and Mary were supposed to go up to Albuquerque. I haven't seen those 2 alive since 11/23. Give me just a second. Okay. HM. Officers have no clue at this point, but Cassandra isn't alone. Right this moment, their prime suspect, Kane Mays' is hiding inside the very house they're standing in front of. Sorry, we're also having issues with a psychotic ex of mine. Oh geez, you're going through a lot right now. A little bit. And then with Kane going missing and Mike presumably having like over half of his guns. It's a really long story. Okay, and not one that I'm 100% familiar with cause Kane just came back into my life September of last year. So like I wish I had all my facts straight. I completely understand. No big deal. How did they come into your life? Through Kane. Okay, so Kane comes into your life, and then now you meet Mary and Killian. MHM. Okay, and then now all of them are missing. MHM. And have you talked? Did you ever have direct contact with Mike? I never had direct contact with Mike. No, I just heard him screaming from the hill both times. As she did earlier, Cassandra doubles down on her accusations, suggesting that officers should focus on Mike, implying he may be involved in the disappearances. Officers take note of her statements and ask her to give them a call if Kane shows up again. Their goal remains unclear, but now that they have a story, they can start verifying. So, a few hours later, as police continue looking for Kane, an officer decides to stop by the neighborhood again and speak with Cassandra's neighbors to see if they've heard or seen anything. According to them, Cassandra hasn't been living alone. A man with long dark hair has been staying with her for the past few months. Additionally, witnesses report seeing the same man driving Victor's missing green Subaru, and that it was also seen parked outside Cassandra's residence multiple times. Realizing the description of the man matches Kane, officers return to the station to dig deeper into Cassandra's earlier claims, where they will very quickly uncover some major contradictions. Even though Cassandra insisted she had only recently met Kane, investigators discover an older Facebook photo of the 2 together, proof they've known each other for years. But that's just the first lie, because officers who were out looking for Kane also recover surveillance footage from a nearby Walmart, showing Kane and Cassandra shopping together alongside her sons and daughter. Besides buying groceries and food, Investigators spot cleaning supplies like bleach and vinegar along with multiple bottles of kerosene, items that closely align with what would be needed to clean up a violent crime and start fire. At this point, investigators are unsure if Cassandra is actively hiding a wanted fugitive or if she's being controlled and forced to cooperate with someone who has already killed 3 members of her own family. With suspicion mounting, detectives obtain a search warrant for Cassandra's house. Then around 8 p.m. that night, a group of officers return to the property, taking up positions outside the house as they prepare to raid it. Occupants of 7 Morningside, this is the Rosal Police Department. Exit the front door with your hands up. Doing now. You got shield. Yeah, row the police search warrant. I guess we're just going to boot this thing. Almost. One more. Roll the police. Anyone aside. Make yourself known. All right, we're going to pull in. I'm going to take left. Ready? Small room. Got another door here. Ready? Yep. I'm going to go. I got a hallway with the looks like the refrigerator kitchen on me. Think Cassandra Jolly is doing the lift here. Huh? Yeah. Look, they got some Lamort stuff right here. Santa Mert. There's a see that? Wait. This has been hanging up because there's that monitor for the camera that's in the window. What those guys on A_Terrace watch? Do you remember what those cigarette packs were? I had a marble, and then I had a I saw that one in the closet. Another one. Your big cans are all over this room. Your red can inside. Something about the house immediately feels off to the officers as they observe unusual posters, graffiti, and other unsettling details scattered throughout. They then make their way into the bathroom, where one officer recalls hearing that something might be hidden underneath the house. I highly doubt the back door was open. No, I'm sure this is what he liked under all this. That's what he said. He lived the neighbor across the street, said that he used to live here, and then there's a door underneath the washer and gutter, at least to the basement. Because didn't they say there's another secret exit or something here? There's a couple windows. What do they go to? They're filled in. They look up there already or no? Ready. Go ahead. Good. Yeah, I'll hold it. No dust on it. Oh, that'll fit that. MHM. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that's too new. MHM. All right. Got a water leaked. Take that. It's kind of weird to have a door right there too, huh? At the center of the basement sits a plastic storage tote, tool box, duffel bags, and other various items. Officers notice there's no dust on the items, and whoever left them behind was in a hurry, possibly trying to leave unnoticed. Beyond the basement, police would go on to find something highly suspicious. Documents belonging to one of the victims alongside paperwork linked to Kane's father and live .22 caliber ammunition. Following these discoveries, investigators secure the scene and begin working to obtain a real-time location warrant for Cassandra's phone. With their suspicions growing that Cassandra fled with Kane, officers know they need to locate them quickly before they vanish, potentially escaping to Canada. 12 hours later, investigators strike gold. The warrant for Cassandra's phone is successfully approved, and in a major development, Verizon pings Cassandra's phone nearly 1,000 mi away. She's no longer in New Mexico, but in Hernando, Mississippi, inside a Super 8 motel. With this discovery, the case becomes multi-state with police in Mississippi quickly briefed on the investigation. Officers are then dispatched to locate Cassandra. This is the final phase in the case, and what happens next will determine whether police get the critical answers they need or lose the lead entirely. As officers make their way to the Super 8 motel, their primary objectives are to extract information about Kane's whereabouts, test Cassandra's statements, and determine how deeply she may have been involved in the homicide of her own relatives. When officers finally arrive at the motel, something immediately feels off. Mississippi. Or actually, technically I'm Douglas because I still have my ex's last name. So what's going on? What are we looking at here? No, you tell me. All I know is that my brother went missing on the 21st. We were trying to investigate his property. We thought Mary and Killian had left, and then Mike came down and started being aggressive and hateful and shooting rounds, and we've already tried to file this with the Roswell Police Department down in New Mexico. Would you consent to a search of your vehicle? You can search the car, and you can search the ground. I don't care. Okay. Interestingly, Cassandra now seems on the verge of an emotional breakdown for reasons the officers are yet to understand. After all, Only 24 hours have passed, and seemingly no new information has been relayed to her. Neither news of the murder, nor that Kane is the main suspect, nor that her house was just searched. So, to get to the bottom of her emotional reaction, Mississippi officers on scene coordinate a call with Special Agent Kyle Graham in New Mexico, who's been tracking the growing list of contradictions in Cassandra's statements. Using those inconsistencies, the detective is about to carefully test Cassandra's story and see how far she cracks. Do you mind grabbing those? Taking your waffles upstairs. I'm not upstairs. I'm downstairs. Downstairs. You spoke with the detectives 2 days ago at your house in Roswell, correct? Yeah. The data holder showed up, and I had to leave, so I brought them over here to Mississippi. Why is that anything wrong? No, there's nothing wrong with that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what's going on with the family. I don't know. I haven't even I just met and my grandmother for the first time in my entire life in November. Were they there whenever you guys were there? No. Where were they at? I don't know. The house was empty, and there were boxes in the middle of the living room. That was his dad's property. He was supposed to go to him afterwards, but he wasn't here. He had to go up to Canada. And so, who was driving in the dead house? Who could drive a car? I don't they all could. I know that they had that little blue car. And who was driving the green car? I don't know. As far as I know, that car is not drivable. Well, we have video of Kane driving the green Subaru. Huh. And we have information from the neighbors that the green Subaru was at your house at one point in time. This is what I want. Okay, I just want honesty. I know you know a little bit more than what you're telling me. I don't know if you're trying to protect or if you're scared. I'm scared because I don't know what's going on. Okay, well, we've been working this case for 3 days straight, and I know a lot more information than I'm telling you. I'm trying to see if you're going to be honest with me. With every sentence, the detective becomes more convinced that Cassandra is hiding something she fears could incriminate her brother or even herself. But there is something a lot more concrete detectives previously uncovered, and the detective is about to leverage it to completely trap Cassandra. Are you aware that Kane made a police report whenever he got into the house originally? The very first time about people squatting in his father's house? Yeah, because they weren't supposed to be there. They hadn't paid any of the mortgage on it. We found documents showing that they were still using Frank's credit cards, and Frank has been dead, and that all of the bills were still in Frank's name, and they were still using that. And so I told him that was illegal, and he needed to make a police report because you can't be using "don't stick that in my face, honey." That's like identity theft. Is it true that Kane didn't even know his dad died? Yeah, he didn't know that his dad died until he came back to States. He found his obituary. He found his obituary shortly before on the internet. That's how he figured it out. So almost a year later, he finds out his dad died. And I know that he's upset about that, but that's not enough reason to kill somebody. I didn't do that. Then why did he kill somebody? No, I don't understand what you're trying to accuse him of. Well, that didn't sound very convincing. I don't know what he's trying to ask for. That doesn't sound conventional. Sure enough, that doesn't sound too convincing to the detective because Cassandra has seemingly slipped up. At this point, no one had told her that the missing family members were dead or that Kane was suspected of killing them. Realizing her mistake, Cassandra quickly starts backpedaling to regain control of the narrative. You got anything else, Cassandra, that you want to tell me? Do you really think Kane killed them or hurt them? I'm pretty concerned. I don't think 3 people just vanish off the face of the earth, especially when 2 of them are elderly, and then King just comes in from Canada, and all hell breaks loose. That's kind of suspicious to me. God, I'm so stupid. I wouldn't even think to put 2 and 2 together like that. But Mike was so scary when he came down, and he was so aggressive, and I thought we were going to die. I thought he was going to shoot us on the property. Well, you didn't even see that he had a gun. Kane told me that he had one, and he was mad enough. Oh my God, he was so mad. As a last-ditch effort, Cassandra goes back to accusing Mike of being responsible for the disappearances. But in fact, officers in New Mexico have already quietly debunked that claim. Information they're holding back for the right time and place. Before leaving, they also check Cassandra's car, where they find belongings hastily packed up. But Cassandra explains this as a desperate attempt to run away from her abusive ex-boyfriend. So, shortly afterwards, the officers wrap up their visit. But in doing so, they've proven something crucial. They can find Cassandra whenever they want, something she clearly didn't anticipate. It seems as though the confrontation went nearly perfectly for the detectives, but Cassandra has a crucial secret that had went unnoticed at the motel. Kane had traveled to Mississippi alongside her, was staying nearby, and had successfully hidden from officers, marking yet another moment where she misleads police about his whereabouts. So, less than an hour after police leave the motel, the two would begin plotting, coming up with a plan they think will get them out of this gruesome mass murder. At 2 p.m., Cassandra's vehicle is seen in front of the Hernando Police Department. Kane would step out and calmly walk into the station. 15 minutes later, Kane would be seated in the department's interview room, too, alongside Detective Stovall. The sudden appearance of Kane would leave detectives with little room to prepare. So, Special Agent Silva, a New Mexico detective already working this case, would be placed on call to assist in the interview. It's important to know that this is an interview and not an interrogation, as Kane has agreed to speak voluntarily and has not been detained. In reality, this interview can only work against him. But in his mind, this is both his and Cassandra's final chance at freedom. Agent Silva would begin the interview by making this crystal clear. And then before we get any further, I do want to let you know that you're not under Miranda rights. You're not anything like that. You're free to leave at any point. You don't have to answer any of my questions, anything like that. You can say, hey, I don't want to answer that question. If you want to, we can go over another question and we can skip to the next one. But I do want to let you know that you are free to leave. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, after realizing he's free to walk out at any time, Kane shifts tactics. He begins probing the detective for information, trying to figure out how much investigators have bought into the false narrative he's been intentionally feeding them. Can I ask you something? It's on one hand, kind of nice to talk to somebody from Otto, also maybe a little concerning. Do we have to speak directly because I'm considered a missing person? Well, that's what I want to talk to you about, is there's so many missing persons. Did a lot of the phone calls to the sheriff's office. So, why would Funny be saying that you're missing, and there's also some other missing reports going on? There's a lot of firearms missing, right? A lot of vehicles missing. They want to talk to you and get your side of the story of what's going on. I was trying to come in and speak with somebody in person. And what happened with that? On my way down to Alamogordo, I gave another uncle a phone call because I had seen him on the property and he was a very looming presence at the time. I was hoping to stop in and ask him about some things and some personal aspects that were going on. I wound up getting run off the property and had to kind of go into hiding because I know his influence and the extent of his company. Which uncle was that? Mike Blitt. So Mike ran you off the property. You had questions for him. Is that what I'm understanding? Yes, sir. So when did this happen? It was when I was on my way down on the 21st. I kind of explained the situation to my sister a little bit, and I told her, if you don't hear from me, call somebody. I know. I keep jumping around and just trying to confirm everything. You went to Mike's house to talk to him, and he shot at you. Correct. Yes, sir. Because I want to talk to Mike about that. Why are you shooting at people through front doors? That's kind of dangerous. That was this week. That was on the 21st. I would absolutely appreciate you taking a look. Kane makes his alibi clear. Mike, the man who kicked the entire investigation off in the first place, is the suspect detectives need to be focusing on, alleging he shot at them through the front door when they approached the home. Unfortunately, detectives have spent far more time investigating than Kane realizes, allowing Agent Silva to completely debunk Kane's story. Simply put, there are no bullet holes or any signs of shooting on the property. Okay, so here's the thing, Kane, is I'm going to start going through some of your story here. Okay, that's not making sense to me. I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm just saying I don't think it's fully there yet, if that makes sense. I'm going to kind of cut off. Can you hear me? Yes, sir. You went to Mike's house. Mike shot at you this week through the front door. You announced yourself. How come you didn't call 911? I know that they very much do not take too kindly to law enforcement. Okay, and I kind of really hope for that to be avoided. So, here's the thing, RET, is I have some investigators that are there at Mike's house that have been through Mike's house. There are no bullet holes through his front door. There are no bullet holes through the siding. I'm not there not seeing you on his cameras at his house. So, that's what I'm saying is some of it's not making sense. So, did you actually go to Mike's house and knock on the door? I did, because you're not AM, his cameras go back this week. They go back last week. I'm not seeing you anywhere on there. We had a ton of different game cams that are all under SD cards. He doesn't have any of the chips from 21st. No. I'm saying he has video surveillance of this week and of last week, but I do not they are not seeing you anywhere on the cameras. Kane appears shocked by these details. Whatever he thought happened that could favor his story simply didn't. Kane would sit in silence for an extended period of time, seemingly in denial that his plan was so terribly miscalculated. If they still have the footage, they should totally show me pulling up. I parked along the mailbox, kind of behind it a bit, not necessarily pulled up past it. I walked right up the drive up to it's kind of tucked in between the slope on the hill, and then it goes into the house where the stone steps are. That metal storm door. Okay, I'm just trying to give you one pass so that you could see. And that was early afternoonish. I got there between 1 and 3 o'clock, I believe it was. I have to look at but I don't have it. But if they have that footage still, then I'm definitely on it. Kane proceeds to give a nearly 10-minute explanation of where he was parked. Unnecessarily complex explanations like these are usually a telltale sign to the detectives that the suspect has shifted into a defensive state, looking for any validation that the detective is believing their lies. Agent Silva takes note of this and begins leaning deeper, this time pressing Kane on his sister Cassandra and her potential involvement. Previously, police recovered and documented strange items during the home's crime scene search, and it's still unclear why they were there. Silva plans to use these details to force Kane into defending Cassandra's innocence, a tactic that will create a contradicting story compared to what Cassandra told officers just hours prior. So, are you aware that we spoke to Cassandra? Yes, sir. And the reason I ask is I'm just trying to get if something happened up there, Kane, I want to know was there an argument? Going on because I know that you were up there in January. Okay, we can kind of get away from that. You were up there in January. If something happened up there, I want to know what happened. Okay, if there was an argument, if something happened, kind of help me help you. Okay, what happened when you were up there in January of this year? I'm trying to figure out everything that has happened as well. That's part of why I wanted to speak with you guys and kind of get you involved in looking them because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm confused on these timelines. You were up there this week at some point, and you were up there last week at some point. So what happened this weekend and last week while you were up there with the family? That's what I want to know. They weren't there. Nothing's happened. You were at the house in Bent on the 18th of January, correct? I'm not sure. Okay, well, the reason I ask is because a Cassie has been in contact, and she showed us a screenshot on January 18th at 3:57. It's between you and her that says, "Wait quietly." Say, "Wait for me." That's actually something that I was going to try to find. And it says, "I believe this is from you or from her." That's the text that says, "Wait for me." And it says, "I'm safe." I'm sorry. Those are the texts that say, "Wait," and that I'm safe. It says, "I'm safe. Wait for me." And then there's a response that says, "Gotcha. I have eyes on the front." So far, so good. What is that's the day that Mike came up to bed. Okay, at this point, Kane must be starting to realize Cassandra may not have been on his side as much as he had thought. Not only are the police beginning to take a clear side, but his only teammate might be against him as well, perhaps explaining why she dropped him off at the police station. Note that Kane at this point can avoid any question he wants, and more importantly can leave whenever he wants. Even Agent Silva decides to take a brief step away from the phone, but Kane would stay, instead letting the officer in the room in on what's going through his mind. Between you, me, and the walls, I really think someone is trying to pin years' worth of __ on me because I came back home at the wrong time and interrupted something. I'm just here with these guys. What you really got to go on? That's why I ask him the questions. I'm just sitting here. Mr. Silva seems like a trustworthy detective. I used to joke, though, and I always say I make a great scapegoat. I'm kind of hoping it's not the case this time. I came here today to ask you guys for help and talk to people that I knew wouldn't be necessarily under an outside influence. Right? But do you see how it looks for us? I mean, they've shown physical evidence of this whole situation. And in your one day, you're here in Mississippi. No ties to Mississippi at all. Like you have no family here. No, sir. You have nothing here. No, sir. My family died, man. If I was in that seat, and a detective 13 hours away on a cell phone call told me that who are they to you? My brother and my uncle, your brother, your grandmother, your uncle. If somebody called me and said, not only was my brother killed, but also your grandmother and your uncle were killed. If somebody told me that over a phone, you know what I would be doing? I think I did. Do you know what I would be doing? I wouldn't be sitting there staring at a wall. I'd be bawling my eyes out. I'd be throwing the water bottle across the room. Probably rip this table out of the wall. Yeah, but then you guys just rush in here. But I wouldn't give __ out of me. I wouldn't give up because of how much I'm close with my brother. I'm not close with my grandma, but it's still with the fact that somebody did that to my family. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And well, they asked what I think should happen to Mike or whomever did this. And in polite company, I couldn't see. But back where I'm from, they'd be from a tree, right? So that's more of the response that you would expect. But the issue I'm having is there's no emotion. You've expressed no sad you. There's no there we're not getting anything, which leads me to believe you already knew this had occurred. I didn't know that. Look, even the officers with no context of the case can't help but assume Kane was involved in the murders, leaving him to sit in silence as he realizes how poorly this voluntary interview has gone. Agent Silva would return and continue pressing Kane for answers, eventually revealing that he had in fact been inside the house multiple times the week of the 3 victims' disappearance and admitted to helping Cassandra travel to Mississippi with her kids, something she lied about earlier in the motel. Even worse for Kane is that as the hour-so-long interview progressed, officers behind the scenes were already taking action. They were instructed to locate his uncle's stolen green Subaru, which they suspected Kane used to drive to Mississippi alongside Cassandra's own vehicle. After looking through surveillance footage and searching around the city, officers hit the jackpot and tracked down the missing car. Inside, they found latex gloves, .22 caliber ammunition, an empty Ruger pistol box, and most importantly, Kane's passport, tying him directly to the stolen vehicle. Now investigators have exactly what they've been missing, probable cause. And with that, Kane is no longer free to leave. And he's about to find out just how massively his attempt to clear himself and Cassandra backfired. How's it going, bud? All right, you mind standing up for me real quick? Yes, sir. Turn around facing this wall. Yes, sir. Put your hands on the wall for me. All right, so what's going on, man? Is he going to be going out to the S County Sheriff's Office? All right, going to our jail. All right, let's see. Walk this way. Back at the Motel 8 in Mississippi, Cassandra would patiently wait for Kane to return, give her a call, or just show any signs his interview was over. But as hours passed, it became clear that something had gone terribly wrong. Growing worried, Cassandra packed her bags and fled alongside her children, making yet another 1,000 miles drive back to New Mexico. Detectives keep tracking her phone signal until it finally stops at her parents' house. By this point, investigators have more than enough to justify Cassandra's arrest, but one critical question still remains. Was she directly involved in the murders? And if so, to what extent? Because of that uncertainty, officers make a deliberate decision. Rather than moving in aggressively, only 4 investigators go to the house, keeping the encounter calm and cooperative. Their goal is to interview Cassandra on the property, and if possible, apply enough pressure to turn her against Kane. If they can do this, they'll be able to pin both Kane and Cassandra against each other, forcing them to incriminate themselves. This is Bryce Daly. He's with them. We can get a chair of office. Perfect. Okay. No. So there's not 100 of us today. There's just 3 of us. Do you want me to start from the beginning from what I know? Or do you want to ask me all the questions first? No. I'm going to let you tell your story. And just so that you know, you're not under arrest. You're free to leave whenever you want to leave. We came to you because we talked on the phone earlier through the text. And what I told her is she needs to stop overthinking everything. Trying to be a detective herself because she's seen all this stuff and she's trying to put pieces together and knows that he was lying to her about things. So just start at the beginning and tell it like you told us. So I wanted to apologize to you because whenever I spoke to you the last time, I wasn't thinking straight. Not only is Cassandra much more cooperative this time, but she quickly admits that she had been dishonest before and even apologizes. Her father's comment makes it seem like she's on the verge of throwing Kane under the bus, which is exactly what investigators are here for. So, with the reassurance that she's not under arrest, Cassandra begins to share some much-needed details about how 3 of her relatives ended up mysteriously dead. So, I know on Thursday we were driving up there, and we had just went through Rioso, and he said that he wanted to stop by Bent right quick. So he said, "Okay, drop me off here. Wait here, and I will let you know if I need anything." I've probably left him alone for like 45 minutes-ish. Where does he go? He's inside the house. Okay. And he says that he couldn't find anything. Don't know where anybody's at. And that it's okay for me to come inside. And I go inside, and like I kept telling you, it smelled __ weird in there. Almost like something had died within the walls, like an animal or something. I was already concerned by the fact that he felt like something had happened. So I'm gonna try to rationalize through that. And he's just saying, "I'll do it, and we're doing things legally. It's okay." And then he has me help him. He drives the car off somewhere and has me help him push it off into this little ditch thing. And at one point, whenever I tried to say, "Hey, you guys you need to call somebody," he said that the majority of the cops up there are crooked. I worked in the ER down here. I can see how you can think that sometimes for sure. No offense. So no offense to you guys either. Investigators are clearly not fond of Cassandra's strange remark. Though by now it's becoming clear to detectives that Cassandra is putting Kane at the center of everything while noticeably avoiding any direct mention of the murders, the cleanup, or the burned bodies. Instead, she frames everything vaguely, claiming Kane suspected something happened inside the house, but they didn't look too deeply into it, and that she was simply helping him deal with a property dispute. Investigators allow Cassandra to continue telling her story, but the more she talks, the more convoluted her version of events becomes. Then at this point, she even invites them inside where the story only grows longer. After nearly 2 hours of listening, Agent Kyle Graham decides it's time to push back. So, now we're going to get into my portion. Okay, I don't know. There's been probably a team of 15 of us on this case. So, we know a lot of stuff. We know everything about that property. And some of the stuff that you're saying does make sense and does add up. However, some of the stuff that you're saying doesn't make sense to me and it doesn't add up. And quite frankly, I don't think some of it happened. But I will tell you right now, I don't feel like Kane could have done everything that he did alone. And I think he included you into a whole mess of a situation. I don't believe that you killed anybody in this house or on that property. I strongly believe that. I don't think that you had any part of murdering people. But I do strongly believe that he _ himself, and he needed help, and you're a helpful person, and he put you in a shitty spot and said, "Help me. I need help cleaning this property. I need help cleaning all this blood up, and I need help getting these _ bodies out of this house. But now's your chance. I'm giving you the opportunity because I'm telling you right now, I have all that I need. The gig's up. The game's over. Okay, this is your opportunity and your chance to tell me, what did he make you do? What did he ask you to help him to do? All I know of is that he wanted me to undo the prop to the headboards, to the couch, but you notice no blood on that? Think about it before you answer that. Not the side that I picked it up from. No, all I did was what he asked me to do. But you understand, all you did what he asked you to do. It's too late. You already helped him. That's already a crime, which I know that. And that's the reason why I asked if I needed an attorney, because I tamper with evidence. Correct. So, and it wasn't until after the fact that I sat there and I thought about it, because he said that everything was found that way. So, the charge is already there. There's not going to be any more of it's not going to get any worse other than you just telling the truth of what happened. The charge is there. You already have a tampering with evidence charge on a first-degree murder. Okay, that's a secondary felony. Needless to say, this is not what Cassandra is hoping to hear. In this moment, she realizes her days of freedom may be numbered if she continues twisting the facts to protect both herself and Kane. Cassandra knows something has to give. So, after hearing what's awaiting her, she asks to step outside for a smoke. And this is where she finally gives detectives a small piece of the truth. Like I said, I went out there. I went out to the store, MHM, and I came back. He said that he found them that way. He said that way. So what did he tell you? He found people in the fourth. How many people? 3. And who are they? Julian, Mary, and Victor. I signed up for it to take him to a job interview. I didn't sign up for him to do this. Do you now believe that he did it? I don't know what to believe. I just know that there was a mess, and then there was a lot of illegal. __. Lots of illegal. __. What else did you help clean up inside the house besides the blood and the furniture? Taking it up. Yeah, and I didn't see how bad the furniture was. Did you help clean up anything else? No. There's so many red flags going on right now of still of you saying that you walked into this house and King telling you, holy __. I just walked into a house and all my family's dead. Let's get rid of them. It does sound really stupid. Doesn't it sound stupid that when you say it out loud? Because I guarantee you I walk into a house with my family dead. Shit's about to hit the van because we got to figure out what the hell just happened. And I'm calling the cops. Yeah, I know we're telling you. We've done our research. I've gotten 0 sleep in 5 days. We're not letting this go. This is a triple homicide. And not letting it go is exactly what investigators are going to spend the rest of the day trying to do, hoping Cassandra will eventually crack and give them the full story. Unfortunately, though, this is the closest they will get to a real admission as Cassandra begins to backpedal and returns to a revised version of events where she claims they found their family members already dead. They then simply decide to cover up the scene to avoid getting in trouble because Kane believed the police were corrupt. Detectives would spend until nightfall pressing Cassandra with no success, and she ultimately sticks to the same story. So before ending the interview and leaving, Agent Graham has one more rather strange question that's been on his mind all this time. He had access to my phone. He knew my passwords. Like I said, I trusted him. He was supposed to be my brother. Can I ask you a really weird question? Sure. No, never mind. No, go for it. Why did you guys buy a brand new box of condoms? No, that was a joke. It should be the skin on latex, and I had bought those in Chattanooga and hers, and I threw them at Walter because I was tired of having kids, and I was tired of being pregnant all the time. But why would they be in the penthouse? I don't know why would they be in the penthouse? That's why I have a weird question. Last time I knew about them, they were in the __, and they were in my house. Well, this was in the well house with all of the cleanup. He told me that there was a possibility that Karen wasn't his mother due to DNA test DNA results, and that there is a potential that he had feelings for me. Kane, MHM. And that's not weird for you like to be around him with your kids when you guys are pretty much brother and sister. Like it was weird, but he never acted on it. I thought you guys were step siblings, not half siblings. No, we're half siblings. Well, because we also found a pregnancy test. Yep, I had a one-night stand at the Variety, and I didn't start my period on time. And I panic and I overthink, and there should be 4 of them. The detective's tone makes it clear. They aren't convinced, suspecting Kane and Cassandra are hiding important details about their relationship. By now, though, what investigators came here to do is partially successful, even though there's still no direct admission tying their suspects to the killings. Cassandra has implicated both herself and Kane in the cover-up. Because of this, Cassandra is officially detained and brought back to the police station. What exactly was said during Cassandra's arrest remains unknown, but the pressure appears to have completely broken her. In the hours that followed, she went on to further incriminate Kane, seemingly doing everything she could to distance herself from what happened, no matter the cost to him. A betrayal that would later come as a complete shock to Kane. All I knew was as I had PTSD from the last time he saw cops because there was my blood all over the floor and my head through the wall, and I was trying to protect him from that. If he was really as innocent as he said he was, then there was going to be nothing to hide, right? Which is why I dropped him off at the jail. I was pretty shocked that he showed up at the police department in Mississippi. Because I told him if he was as innocent as he told me that he was, if he really found them the way they were, then that's all he had to tell you guys, and you would figure out the rest. In the following days, Kane is brought into an interrogation room, this time in an orange jumpsuit for what would be his final interview. Agent Graham is assigned to conduct the interview. The same investigator who previously spoke with Cassandra and secured her confession. By this stage, Graham knows the case inside and out, and he approaches the interview with a deliberate strategy, intent on extracting as much information as possible. And in this case, that's exactly what's needed, because now more than ever, detectives need a confession. Right as the interrogation begins, Kay makes a desperate attempt to ensure Cassandra is keeping her story together. He seems to be completely unaware that Cassandra isn't protecting him anymore. Do you happen to have a pen handy? I do. Do you have her number? Because I have in my wallet at the jail, but they won't let me access it, and I need to make sure that she's okay because she mentioned wanting to go back down to New Mexico. And after doing it once, that's already a hard enough trip. Well, I talked to her Sunday when she got back in a row. I don't even know what the day is, man. At this point, Kane still believed Cassandra was in Mississippi and hadn't spoken to officers since their first contact. Unfortunately, not only did Cassandra confess since then, but she did it in front of the very detective sitting just feet away. So, I talked to her on Sunday. I traveled to Roswell when she got in. I talked to her for probably, more than 2 less than 4 hours. Okay, and then on Monday, I traveled to Roswell again and I talked to her again. Okay, for about, 2 hours. Okay, but I learned a lot from her, okay? And I'm hoping that I'm going to learn more from you. I don't want to call anybody a liar, but I think there's some inconsistencies with your statements, because I want you to know that there's going to be a lot of questions that I ask you that I already know the answer to. But this is going to be a test for you to see if you're being truthful with me. Okay, because it is. I know it's the truth because I've been working this case since Wednesday, the 22nd. Okay, after Agent Graham makes it obvious Kane is on his own, now the interview demeanor changes fast. He wastes no time bringing up Cassandra's confession and placing it directly against Kane, making it clear that detectives are no longer relying on his version of events alone. Did you hurt anybody inside that house, including Victor, Killian, and Mary? No, sir. So, how does Victor, Killian, and Mary just mysteriously go missing? I've been trying to find out the same. You do understand, though, that we found all 3 of them. Correct. I believe Special Agent Silva did tell you that. He alluded to something that I was really hoping is not truthful. So, I'm not really one to beat around the bush, okay? I just call it like it is. Okay, but Cassie's told me everything that's happened. Okay, she told me the involvement. She told me what you guys did, that you walked into the house. You found all 3 of them dead. You guys picked up their bodies. You put them in the blue Subaru. You drove it up the hill. You guys both tipped it over. She's told me it all. Okay, you guys used the little green dolly to pick him up and put him on the dolly while I'm out to the car. You tied a rope around Killian's waist, hooked the rope up to your dad's hitch, and drove the car to pull him into the back seat. So the gig's up, Kane. Okay, I told you I don't beat around the bush. We've done it. I worked over 100 hours in 1 week. Okay, this is serious. So, now this is your opportunity and your chance to tell me your side of the story. Cassie's told me hers. Okay. As Kane sits in silence, the realization sets in. He's on his own now. And whatever story he had planned coming into this interrogation has now been flipped entirely on its head. But Agent Graham presents the story strategically by laying it out exactly as Cassandra described it. He gives Kane an opening to admit only to helping conceal the murders while shifting responsibility for the actual killings onto someone else. If he can get this confession first, it'll be significantly easier to get Kane to confess to the killings later on. Do you want to start back at the beginning? And I know the date that all this happened also. I can tell you what happened. I can't tell you why. I don't know. I was trying to find out. I _ up your crime scene, and I'm sorry for that. Is everything that I just said what Cassie told me? Is that accurate? To a degree. And what isn't? When we went to the house that day, and it's just you and Cassie. Yeah, not the kids. No, there's a witness too. And who is that? The mailman. He can attest to this. Like the postal man that drives and delivers the mail in the mailboxes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we had gotten there just before him. He went up. I told her to hang tight for a minute because that meant that everybody would be awake and I was kind of looking hopeful. Killian was up and moving about and I knocked on the door. I told him, "Hey, you just missed the postman." And he was real fidgety. He was scratching his head a lot. He was irritated, and I told him, "Hey, I got some good news. Everything's moving along with the mortgage company. We're looking to move in, and we ought to be all set by like the end of the month. Everything should be good. They got my process, or my status is pending." He closed the door, and I watched him take the mail off to the bedroom. And then he went back, and I heard like must have been 20 gunshots. I didn't even think to do the front door. I just ran around to the side, came through my door, and it wasn't closed all the way. I ran through the bedroom. My Uncle Vic was laying in his doorway with a gun in one hand. His other was like shaking, just kind of like floating there. And Killian was across from him. I don't know why. I don't know who shot, I don't know. So, where I'm sorry, Kane, but I don't mean to be an ass, okay? But I know when you were going down this road that's where you were headed, okay? That one of them did all this. The evidence. They both had guns. Kane and Victor both had guns. Killian, sorry. They both had _ guns, and they told me there weren't any left in the house. Were they? You and Cassie were the only ones in there. So what did you guys do with the guns? Do you see that? Well, I've been doing this for a long time, okay? I'm not dumb. This isn't my first homicide. Okay, Kane falls directly into Agent Graham's trap, confessing to concealing the bodies and giving a terribly thought-out lie about who committed the murders. But Graham doesn't stop there and begins pressing further, letting Kane know that nothing he can say at this point will dig him out of his grave. I'm not hurt my family. I'm not going to lie to you, though, Kane. Like, this was a pretty tough one for us. This took a lot of time. This is the most that we've ever spent on the case, by the way. This is the farthest we've been to investigate one, too. And, the whole wrapping the rope around Killian's waist and pulling him in with the other car. That was pretty creative. And I'm being serious. I'm not being a smartass. I don't know how I would have got him in the car either. I don't know how I would have got him on the wagon. That's 200 pounds dead weight. 280 pounds dead weight. That's a lot. You're not much bigger than me. Think about how crazy that sounds, though. Like, you were cremating them, and you went up there on the 22nd, and you burned them, right? After you and her put chain link over the top of the car with the little camouflage tarp thing and all the sticks and brush covering it. I did try to offer them a cremation. That was nice of you, but I didn't hurt them because the rest of the family didn't get to say their goodbyes. There aren't enough of us left. And I got to give it to you, too. Using the comelongs and the steel pipe to prop it over to get it dumped over. Like, this is one of the most creative homicides that I've seen. I didn't hurt anybody, sir. I would never hurt my family. Well, Kane, that's what they all say. I don't buy that you didn't do it. I'm sorry. I think Cassie's full of a lot of things, but I don't think she's full of on that. And I'm not so sure that she wasn't involved in it, to be honest with you. She wasn't even there, sir. Okay, well, I'm telling you right now, Cassie's in jail. That's why you can't get a hold of her. Then I need an attorney. Okay, all right. My next question is, are you going to sign a waiver of extradition to go back to Mexico, or do you want us to have to get a governor's warrant and you set up here in our jail? For months? Do you mean New Mexico? Yeah. Okay. What do you think, detective? I can't tell you, but I can serve you with this target notice. Okay. These are the charges that are being filed against you. This is what we're going for. Grand jury. Okay. I can't accept that. Well, it's not an option. These are the charges coming against me. Yes, sir. These are your charges. Clearly, King doesn't seem to understand the law, and he'll be fighting the charges regardless of whether he accepts them or not. On paper, Kane is charged with an array of crimes, including arson, aggravated burglary, and 3 counts of first-degree murder. Additionally, Cassandra would be officially charged following the interrogation, also getting 3 counts of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and tampering with evidence. In the weeks that follow, detectives and prosecutors begin assembling the full picture. The blood patterns inside the house, the cleanup supplies, the burned Subaru, the shell casings, the clothing, the phone records, and Cassandra's own statements describing the disposal of the bodies. And after countless sleepless nights, investigators believe they have finally pieced together what happened. Victor, Mary, and Killian were killed near the south bedroom and kitchen before being moved through the house. Their bodies were then loaded into Victor's blue Subaru, which Kane allegedly drove into the canyon, pushed over a ditch, and set on fire. Kane's shifting stories and control of the green Subaru point investigators towards him as the primary actor, while Cassandra's admissions place her squarely in the cleanup and cover-up. Detectives see Kane returning from Canada as the start of a growing grievance over what he believes is rightfully his 22 acres of family land. They allege that a dispute over the property motivated Kane and that he drew Cassandra into a plan to cover up the deaths and claim control of the land. For now, both remain presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in court. If convicted, they could each face multiple life sentences under New Mexico law with decades behind bars before any possibility of parole. As for Mike, Lourdes, and the other relatives, they can rest safely for now, praying that those responsible never see the light of day again.